On her wedding night, in a room glowing with lights, the bride stood, gazing at her reflection in the mirror. But suddenly, a chilling breath brushed against her ear, and that terrifying whisper, "Complete my wedding, or your blood will become my henna." Her heart stopped beating because she was alone, yet the room was filled with the overpowering scent of henna. The bride stood frozen in fear. Light raindrops, a room decorated with lights. But amidst this happiness, a strange silence. As if this room belonged to another world. She was looking at her reflection in the mirror, but an unknown fear began to rustle in her heart. As if someone was approaching. Suddenly, someone's icy breath near her ear. And a whisper, "Consume my marriage. Otherwise, your blood will become my henna." The neck turned. There was no one there. But a gust of wind touched the dupatta, as if someone had just stood here. Something pricked the carpet under my feet. I bent down and saw a golden bracelet full of blood, as if someone had just put it on. As soon as the bracelet came into my hand, the room became as cold as ice. I tried to open it, but it seemed to be stuck in my wrist. Lightning flashed. The same bride was standing across the window, her face white, blood flowing from her lips, and her eyes were fixed directly on me. The lights started to go out one by one, and with each darkness, that bride took a step closer. When I opened the door, the corridor was deserted, but the sound of someone crying echoed from afar. Another bride was sitting in the corner, her face hidden in a dupatta. Blood was dripping from her henna. I removed the dupatta, and my face was mine. My eyes were like black voids, my lips were full of blood. She took my hand, the bracelet began to beat in the red light, as if a heart had come to life. When I opened my eyes, I was in an old room, in every picture on the walls, a dead bride. In one picture, the bride was coming out of the frame, one step in reality, the rest just in the picture. Her feet sunk into the ground, she completely came out of the picture, and was now standing behind me. I ran to the door, but the handle was missing. The shadows of the walls seemed to block my path. Darkness fell. Only the lightning flashed in the window, and that face was right in front of me. The light was flickering in the long corridor. Somewhere in the distance, a wedding bell, and faint whispers at the same time. When I turned the corner, dozens of brides were standing. All with faces like mine, and all silent. They raised their heads together. Eyes like black voids, red light inside, and I froze like a stone. They all started moving towards me at once, without touching the ground, as if floating in the air. I pressed against the wall, a bride stretched out her ice-cold, bloody hands to touch my face. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was in a deserted wedding hall, where hundreds of candles were floating in the air. 24. I walked forward, long tables were set, but the food was rotten, and worms were crowded. In the middle was a large cake, red liquid was dripping from its edges, and its shadow could be seen in it. I approached the cake with trembling hands. I was about to touch the red liquid when silence fell on the hall. Suddenly the cake burst, and dozens of black, blurry hands rushed towards me. I ran, the candles began to tremble violently, and brides stepped out of the shadows and blocked the way. At the end of the hall was a heavy wooden door, adorned with wedding garlands, but locked with rusty chains. I turned around, all the brides were standing still, with unnatural smiles, and a red glint in their eyes. I slowly started to back away. The cold air was clearly visible in their breath. The brides started to take steps together. I was trying to untie the chains. My fingers were cut by the sharp edges. The sound of footsteps was getting closer and closer. A bride suddenly stood behind me, whispered something in my ear. My body shivered from her icy breath. Suddenly the door opened by itself, and inside was not a room but a black void. I was standing on the edge of the black void, and from the darkness, bony hands began to grab my feet. I tried my best to pull my feet, but those bony hands began to grip me even more tightly. All those brides were standing around the void, reading something in one voice. A faint light was burning in their eyes. I grabbed the rusty chain of the door and started to pull myself out of the darkness. One bride lunged and tried to push me. Her face was contorted with anger. I somehow freed myself and fell backwards onto the wooden floor, gasping for breath. I was crawling back, and they were all moving towards me silently. In the thunder of rain, I saw a window open. Maybe this was my last path. I started running. My dupatta fell back, and my hands started to slip from behind again. I had jumped out of the window, lightning flashed, and I fell into the rain. I was lying in the mud, gasping for breath. They were all staring at me in the window. I was lying in the mud, gasping for breath. They were all staring at me in the window. The sound of a wedding band was coming from afar, but there was no procession here. The sound of a wedding band was coming from afar, but there was no procession here. I went inside. There were brides and grooms dancing in silence, as if time had stopped. And then I realized all the brides had the same face, exactly mine. I started to back away. My hands were shaking. The light from the lantern flickered uncontrollably. A groom stepped forward. His face was hidden in the shadows, and he extended a bony hand towards me. A groom stepped forward. His face was hidden in the shadows, and he extended a bony hand towards me. A groom stepped forward. His face was hidden in the shadows, and he extended a bony hand towards me. I started to sink. My face and my hand were visible for the last time. Then it was all over. I opened my eyes and found myself in a black, endless water. Dozens of glowing ghost brides were swimming around me. I saw my reflection in the water and remained silent. I had become a ghost bride myself. I wanted to scream, but only bubbles were coming out in the water. My voice was lost somewhere. Upstairs, on the stage of the mansion, only my lantern was burning, and its light was also slowly going out. In a calm but compelling tone, say, if you enjoyed this thrilling story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And hit the bell icon to watch more scary stories.